Still through there. It's just so on that. Okay. You ready? If you want to adjust, we don't do that.
Hey, everyone, you could join me in the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This meeting is now called to order. In line with the Borough of Seabright's long-standing policy of open government and in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, I wish to advise you that adequate notice of this regularly scheduled meeting was sent to the Asbury Park Press and other local newspapers on January 10, 2022. In each instance, the date, time, and location of this meeting were provided in the notice. This meeting is open to the public. And roll call. Councilman Bieber.
Here.
Councilman Birdsall.
Here.
Councilman Booker.
Here.
Councilman Catalano.
Here.
I'm here. And Councilman Lamia.
Here.
Our mayor is away for the several days on a business trip. And our borough administrator is away also. So, I would like to have you please stand, if you would, for a moment of silence for a Seabright member, Seabright resident and election poll worker. If you remember him, Tom King, passed away. Thank you very much. Tom worked for many years at the polls. I open this for remarks from the audience. Does anyone in the audience wish to speak? No one? Okay.
How about no one?
I checked before, no one was there. Anything?
There's a couple people on there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was
Anyone online wish to speak? Okay.
Okay, I have a motion on the consent agenda.
So, second.
Consent agenda consists of the minutes from previous meetings and for resolutions that are on consideration for tonight. Councilman Bieber.
Yes.
Councilman Birdsall.
Yes.
Councilman Booker.
Yes.
Councilman Catalano.
Yes.
Councilman Keeler, yes. Councilman Lemmy.
Yes.
Passed. We move on to ordinances. We have one under consideration tonight. It's for introduction only. It's ordinance number 04, and it concerns revisions to, or if you will, amending the Vehicle and Traffic Code. What the object was here was to reorganize the code itself so that it's easier to locate particular sections, and also to group together similar streets, etc., etc. Before, you had to go all through the ordinance multi-pages. This is much better, and the court will also find it much easier. And the other change, and this is the most significant one, the penalties for violating the parking rules have gone up appreciably. So, we'll take a look at that. I could have a motion to introduce this ordinance.
So moved. Second.
Councilman Weaver,
Yes.
Councilman Berzo,
Yes.
Councilman Booker,
Yes.
Councilman Catalano,
Yes.
Councilman Kilo, yes, and Councilman It's,
I just want to say, I just want to make sure everybody's aware that, as Jack mentioned, the parking fines are going to be going up considerably this year, mostly in the downtown residential areas. This is to help hopefully curtail some of the illegal parking that we get down there, and keep people, allow the residents to actually have places to park in the summertime. So a little bit of luck, this will help alleviate some of that problem. Fingers crossed, we'll see where it goes.
good. Yeah. This will be open for a public hearing on a meeting on May 17th. Now we move to new business. We have a motion on the vouchers.
So moved.
Second.
Councilman Beaver,
Yes.
Councilman Berzo,
Yes.
Councilman Booker,
Yes.
Councilman Catalano,
Yes.
Councilman Kilo, yes, and Councilman Amending.
Yes.
Now we have for discussion the volleyball court expansion. Is there anyone here wishing to speak on that?
I can speak on.
Yeah.
We talked to Don, he checked it out, he saw the footprint, it's not gonna make any changes to the beach or beach operations, so he's okay with it, and,
That sounds good. I saw his memo, the attached to these things. And they've already put them in place, so it looks pretty good. So.
Sam, was there any discussion with the organizer with regard to the fee that they pay? Because that was a topic for us.
we were going to, they have a fire contract, we were gonna raise it next year, and recoup it, we were gonna, expand it this year, and then, work something out with it next year on, keeping the 940.
Okay, so keep it where it was this year. They're aware of a change next year. We didn't negotiate the amount, I assume.
No, we can still negotiate next year.
But it'll be up for discussion for next year.
Yep.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Does anyone have any other comments on the volleyball court? Chief, you okay? No?
Yeah, I mean, I remember the people from Volleyball came in, we discussed it, and it wasn't an issue, and we told them to move over to special events. They went to special events. It was not an issue. I like the volleyball. It does, I hope everybody does, it does tremendous business in town. I mean, after volleyball, they go everywhere. They eat, they drink, they pay for a park. It's been good on those weekdays. It's never been a problem. We kind of like it. It's gone pretty good. I mean, yeah, I think I've never had one complaint about it at all. Good, unless anybody else has. I don't know.
Is it going to go deeper or is it wide?
They basically changed the footprint a little bit. They originally had 6 courts in there. The courts were spaced out a little bit far apart. They moved the courts a little bit closer together and squeezed 3 more courts in. So just the main reason for that was because they had such a high demand for teams that they were turning people away. So they figured if they were able to add another 3 courts, they could get a few more teams on every season. So it's good for the town. So.
I did do a resolution, if you want to officially approve it. I don't know that it's necessary.
What's the resolution?
It doesn't mention anything about the high school.
So we could do one.
Yeah, we can, someone can make a motion to add it, and then.
What are we numbering this one?
This would be, I think, 101 or 102? 102.
102.
All right, so I'll make a motion to include resolution number 102, 2022 on tonight's agenda in regards to the volleyball expansion that we just mentioned.
Second. Is there any comments? We shall take a vote. Councilman Bieber,
Yes.
Councilman Burgess,
Yes.
Councilman Booker,
Yes.
Councilman Catalano,
Yes.
Councilman Keeler, yes, Councilman Lennon.
Yes.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Makes it official. It's good. We have mayor and council comments.
I'll be happy to go first. On behalf of the administration committee, I have three things I want to touch on for priorities this year. One of them we talked about was data records and retention, which is an important issue both in terms of electronic storage, copying, and storage space. We did a pretty thorough review here. The good news is we're in pretty good shape overall. The team did a major purge when we did move into this building, and they've made some process changes. In addition to that, Chris and Michelle Ketchum and I went through the tracking process that we use right now for all the data that gets created. It's pretty comprehensive. It put me in a position where I felt pretty comfortable that they're not generating a lot of extra paper and we're not going to run out of storage anytime soon. So we looked at roughly what we'd be adding per year, and I think we have sufficient capacity to deal with the little bit that we're producing. I think the team's going to continue to look for small improvements, but we didn't see any big bang things there that we said we had a major change in. The most significant change would have been if we invested in scanning. And the reality is we have a revolving window of when things fall out of the statute of requirement to keep it. So you want to be careful you don't scan things that you don't have to keep. You just get rid of them at the end of the 7-year period or whatever it is. So I'm ready to put this one to bed. I think the team's done an excellent job, and probably the best thing that happened was the need for the move, because they realized they didn't have space and they purged probably 70% of the material that they had before. And I think they have a pretty good working system right now. Chris, anything you want to add to that?
No, I think we're in good shape, so.
Yeah. The other thing I would just say is the police department, Brett and I met on this as well, and they are almost completely electronic right now. So just about everything they produce goes electronic, which is another good thing. So in each one of the departments, we're going to continue to look for opportunity. But I think all the departments are happy to say they're in pretty good shape here overall. Brett, anything you want to add?
Yeah, some of our older restaurants, we have the same for 75 years.
Oh.
Yeah, we can't get rid of them. It's monumental, and I know we did move Michelle Ketchum. We went through that storage and we got rid of thousands and thousands of documents that we were allowed to get rid of from each person. We're still getting their stuff.
I will tell you a shout out to Michelle. When she opened up her binder and showed me how she had everything recorded and could go to a particular place and find something, it's pretty impressive. The team's got a good process in place. The second one we touched on is personnel policies and procedures. And this is all about addressing performance, appraisals, and feedback with our employees. We touched a couple areas. We touched the part-time staff on the beach. Don Klein and I met on that, and we went through the details. And I was pleasantly surprised that he actually has a pretty comprehensive set of questions that are asked before people come in, performance appraisal at the end of the year. And like Michelle, when I said, can you show me an example of one, he pulled open the book of last year and they looked at all the people that he assessed for last year. Would you hire them again? How did they do? What was the feedback? For our full-time people under the administration staff, I think we have some work to do here. We have not been doing formal appraisals documented on paper, which is both bad news for the employees and it could be bad for us if we ever run into problems and we don't have anything documented. So over the last several months, Joe has been looking for some performance appraisal forms, which he has brought forward a recommendation on that. We're going to finalize that, and in the month of June, we're going to start the rollout communication with our employees so they understand that this is happening. And we're going to go live July 1st. Normally, we'd like to do it January 1st, but we don't want to wait till January next year to get the ball rolling. So we're going to start at the half-year point, get it going, at the end of the year, review how it's going, and make any changes we need to make it even better for next year. The last item the administration committee is looking at is code enforcement. So there were a variety of areas. We looked at about 12 or 15 different ordinances, identified the ones that we wanted to enforce more greatly than we were doing in the past. We identified 3. The first one was around parking and vehicular things. And as you just heard a couple minutes ago, we're happy to report that has been updated. Great work by the police department, by legal. The council has reviewed all of that, and we're ready to go with that before Memorial Day, which will be a very positive change for us. The major thing that we're after there is changing behavior to be positive, so people don't feel that you come to the town, park illegally, and get a $50 fine, and that's okay. So the fine's going to be raised. It's going to cost them some more if they park illegally. And as Kevin said, the major focus is downtown because of the challenges we have on limited parking in resident locations. So we should be ready to go by Memorial Day weekend with that. The second one is bulkheads. This is a very significant and it's a critical issue for us. We do have an ordinance in place right now that's been updated to reflect new timelines to allow people to get their bulkheads repaired. This is a very challenging and expensive process for people, so we want to do it in a professional and understanding way. So the administration team is going to be meeting this month to go through that one more time to understand how we actually want to propose rolling out that new ordinance and then start that clock, because there are penalties if you don't put a plan together, if you don't start the work, if you don't get your CAFRA permit. And really, this is about protecting the whole town. There are 27 properties that have deficient bulkheads that jeopardize the whole town and their neighbors, and we want to work with them to get them improved so we improve the resilience of the town for when future storms come. And the third one is around short-term rentals. Obviously, Airbnbs and things of that nature are becoming more and more popular. We're not against them, but we want to make sure that there's a set of regulations and rules and ordinance in place to control how that's done. Right now, we have nothing in place. So what we're going to look to do is have a set of ordinances rolled out for 2023. We don't want to do it this year. We want to define it, get it right, and get it on the books this year, but be ready for 2023 because a lot of the summertime rentals have already happened. So we've missed it for this year. But the kind of things that we're going to focus on in that short-term rental ordinance is what is the minimum stay, and that hasn't been decided yet. In adjacent communities around us, it ranges everywhere from 3 days to 3 months to 6 months. So we have to decide what we want that to be, and it's probably in the 3-day to week time frame because of the nature of the town and who we are. We want to make sure everybody appropriately registers when they're doing this, and we also want to make sure if there's any violations of any of the ordinances, we have an enforcement methodology to deal with that. One of the challenges we do have we're trying to improve is nightly rentals, where it changes what it feels like to live on the block and live next to it. And we want to make sure that neighbors are treated respectfully when these rentals take place. The last thing I'll say is on school regionalization. There was a town hall meeting that we had here last month. This is obviously a major issue for us in the town. Our objective would be to do a regionalization alignment with Atlantic Highlands, Highlands, and Seabright. We'd like to get that on a referendum by November of this year. For that to happen, it would take all 3 towns to pass resolutions to approve that to happen. 2 of the 3 towns, Seabright and Highlands, have already done that. Atlantic Highlands is struggling to determine the path they want to go forward. I go to all of their council meetings on Thursday nights, every other Thursday nights, and they're conflicted amongst themselves on what they want to do here. So if they do pass a resolution, all that does is it allows the 3 towns to petition the state to evaluate whether or not they would approve it if the voters decided to do it in November. So there's a lot of work to be done here. It's an emotional issue because it involves the most important thing, and that's our children. And we want quality education at an affordable price, but the next 30 days is going to be key on this subject. So there will be more town hall meetings scheduled here in Seabright to cover this to make sure the residents are aware. And certainly if you have any particular issues, concerns, or things you want to address, the council is always open to do that. Brian has appointed a panel to do that. Jack is on it. I am on it, and the mayor himself and Joe Baruni is on it as well. So we'd be happy to answer any questions that the public may have on that subject. Other than that, that's it, Jack. Thank you.
Very good.
Couple things, one from finance perspective. Some may be aware that we recently adopted a municipal budget. I think it's important. I said this before, but I just want to make sure that folks are aware. We have the opportunity, due to the excellent work of our CFO, Mike Basson, our administration, and other members of the team, for the 3rd year in a row, Seabright is cutting our municipal tax rate. That's not something that's regularly done in other towns, and there'll be an 8.4% cut in the municipal tax rate, which is something. It's not a lot, but it's something that we can do as a gesture to our taxpayers to pay the bills, right? So I think that's important to recognize the team's work on that. And again, that'll be going into effect on July 1st. I also wanted to take this opportunity as my committee and other members of the council have been looking at the cannabis issue. I think that it's important to kind of clear the air on a few things here, in that where we are in our process, as far as we want to be transparent and upfront, where we are in our process is that at our next workshop meeting, we will consider an initial draft resolution as to whether or not Seabright will opt into allowing a Class 5 retail dispensary in our town. That's where we're at in the process. So, a lot of comments, et cetera, out there. But if you want the facts, you come to the council, right? Because we're the ones that will make the decisions on these things. So whatever you may hear or see out there is just that. If you want answers or if you want the facts, you come to us. So it's important to make sure that folks understand that. That's where you are in the process. Nothing is done. Nothing is close to being done. We're going to follow the process and be transparent while we do. So I think that's important to make that clear for those present and for those listening online. That's where we are in the process. So with that, Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, as far as DPW goes, one big change at DPW is we lost our number 2. Sean Thomas has left us for greener pastures down in Jackson. I'm bringing there to be, but it's unfortunate. He was a really great addition to the town. He's done a lot for us, so it was really a sad day for us to lose him. But onward and upward for him and for us. So we are going to be posting a job posting for a new replacement for him in the coming weeks. Hopefully we get one soon because summer is upon us and we need the extra manpower. So, we wish Sean the best, and we just want to keep moving forward with the town. So hopefully we can find a replacement as good as Sean, if not at least half as good. So thank you. Other than that progress, we're moving forward with the summer season and getting everything ready. The Fireman's Fair will be soon, with next week.
It's the 19th through the 22nd.
That's coming up, so the DPW is prepping for that. You'll see a lot of folks out there getting the gravel lot prepped and ready for that weekend. And then it's going to be a hard shuffle after that to get it back and ready for the summertime traffic and the parking. So other than that, that's it. Progress.
I just have 2 quick things on the beach. May Day Lifeguard Conference is this Saturday from 8 to 4. It's local emergency response groups preparing for situations on the beach. So that'll be a nice little conference to get together this Saturday.
How many do you expect?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. Also, the bids have closed on the lifeguard towers. We didn't receive any bids in, so that was the second time it was up there. I don't know what the process is after this. So we'll have to reevaluate that one.
Well, what is which maybe you can give us some guidance or some insight. What are our options in that situation? Do we have multiple sort of no bids returned? Are we allowed to negotiate directly?
After 2 you are. There's conditions in the statute that I have to look at, but yes, after 2 times you are allowed to do that.
So maybe we can negotiate with them and get them in time for summer, but it's going to be precedent now. That's all I got.
The one outfit is out of California, right?
That's the one that Don recommended. Yeah.
Sam, we thought the issue was the restrictions and regulations associated with the purchase, right?
It was the restrictions, but also in the bid there was installation that was entailed, and I believe that the manufacturer in California didn't want to include that. He just wanted to ship the product here, and that's where he didn't place a bid, and I don't believe anybody else was able to either locate similar product or that's the way we can get it.
Do you think it's possible that if we do exercise our option to negotiate directly, that we might be able to come to reasonable terms, and which would include installations? I'm sure they
I
will.
definitely think we could, and I think it's something we could handle in-house also. Can DPW or contract it out.
I don't know how complicated it is.
It's not a permanent structure at all. It's just getting them off of shipment trailer and out into the beach.
But as far as you know, they are available.
They are available, yeah.
Do we have any details as to the parts list and what needs to be done as far as putting them together?
That is all in the bid specs.
Well, no, I'm just saying, if we do negotiate with this company, let's figure out ahead of time what we're in for as far as putting them together.
Yeah.
Because it requires work that's not,
Right.
that our team is not capable of doing, we need to be aware of that. So. I'm sure it's just a couple screws and Well, I mean, from the looks of them, it's mostly just one, the tower itself is one gigantic piece of fiberglass. It's almost like a boat frame. And then there's a metal frame that it sits on that I'm assuming gets bolted to in some way, shape, or form.
I believe that all comes together on the truck, yeah.
That should not get off the truck and put it on beach. No, that's an easy thing. But fingers crossed, that's all it is.
I have a few things here. Today I attended the New Jersey Council of Farmers and Communities, and it's a group in northern New Jersey and central New Jersey that oversees farmers markets. So they had invited me to see what they do and participate in their meeting. They're a nonprofit to develop and grow the network of community farmers and the farmers' products. So they're willing to give me some guidance on how we would resurrect our farmers market here sometime in the future. Probably not this year, right? It's pretty late in the year, but they were very helpful, very inviting, and I felt responsible to go and at least attend the meeting. And now they'll be emailing me and keeping me in the loop on all their activities. But it was a really good meeting. They went over all the regulations, and each town that was represented gave a report, and so I felt there was a lot to learn. I think that some towns just do an ad hoc farmers market, and then it grew into not a farmers market. This is about produce and local output, and they're going to put some farmers in touch with me and see would they come to see right, and we'll evaluate that. The PR committee will sit through it and listen to them, and we'll see if there's any merit there. There are two very local farmers markets, so but when they talked about fresh bread, things like that on Thursday morning, that would be a nice thing to have, some tomatoes and corn. But we're looking into it. It was an interesting meeting.
Where was that again?
It was up in Somerville, New Jersey.
You did a little travel.
Yeah. On recreation, we hope to further improve the appearance and the safety of the rec center. The floor is pristine. It really looks good. We're going to put a little more lighting around the perimeter. They're leftover lights that used to hang in the center. And this week, Don and I are going to meet. There's a basketball clinic group that wants to meet with us and see could they run a clinic here for kids in the community. And we'll see what that's about. Right? But I believe once we get going with the gym and have a program, there'll be a lot of interest. And when I talk to the businesses, they're like, keep the reins on until September, because they don't really need more people right now, but when we get to the fall and into the winter, and we need time to develop this anyway, so the hope is we'll have an after school for kids. Lady from Rumson donated a pool table and, let's say, 100 board games, so I brought them over. They're in the gym now. And we'll continue to develop that. We don't really know what our kids are, what the ages are, and how many are there. But it's something to develop. And then in the evening, we would have something for adults. And there's a lot of history here. I have a picture of that building, and on the wall it says, bingo, Friday night. The prizes are in the thousands of dollars. But it requires a license and a lot of involvement. So we're working on it, and Dom's been very helpful to get it going, and Sean was great helping us get the floor cleared. It's all repainted. It's got two pickleball courts and a full court basketball. Today I looked at with Dom a map that you would put down if you wanted to have a meeting with chairs. You roll this out like a pool cover, and then you could have a meeting in there. That room holds over 200 people. I previously said the Cub Scouts were there. They had a blast in there. They did their little race cars, and we could offer that to our community as well. We don't have Scouts locally. We don't have enough kids right now. I'm still looking for volunteers that are interested in helping develop this program, so it should be from the community ground up. I did post on our Facebook, we don't have a Facebook page. On the website, at the top of the page, it used to end at library, now it ends at Seabury. So if you click that link, it will open up either a PDF if you want, or a online that you can read it and flip through the pages. The PDF, if you look at any of the links, they're hot links, so if you click on them, it'll take you to that page. When you're flipping through the electronic, those are not active. It's a start, it's a pilot to see if we can get some into the community. And I try to include as many subjects as we can without making it overbearing. Introduction to all of us, how to reach us, email, phone numbers, and we'll start working on the next one now. Hope to do 4 a year at least. It's electronic only right now, in respect of not a lot of paper. We still have a lot of paper, right? Get out of that gym, but we'll see. There's a place on the website to ask for a copy. So we got a couple of requests already, and then I send out the PDF. And if they have questions, they could ask, I want this changed, or I want something else added. And the library did fill their 2 positions. So they did not have their meeting this week. They're going to meet next week. And I guess we'll be introduced to them. And that's it from PR Recreation.
I tell you, the old gym looks terrific.
Yeah, it really did. It's not good. And eventually the smell will be gone. It was very powerful. I had to move the seniors out of there for one of the meetings. They went to Alice's for lunch instead.
But you did a great job. I just have a couple of little right things. The court, I talked to the court people. They're again very pleased with the court's working. They always compliment you, Chief, on your cooperation and coordination. So, and again, the next court date is this Thursday, 2:30. It's on what used to be the basic Fort Monmouth. So if you're interested in going, that's where they're located. Very easy to get to. I want to mention something. A long time ago, we had a plaque that was donated to us in memory of Lieutenant Howard Schneebach, who was killed in Vietnam. And for whatever reason, however it happened, it was misplaced. And it was very recently brought to us, and Frank Lawrence had it mounted on a marble slate, and it's out with the other monuments out by the front of the firehouse. And we're inviting the Schneebach people to come on Memorial Day to talk to us about his brother, basically. But if you go out there, you'll see it. And they are going to resod that area. And we had to dig it up for fixing the pipe. But that's going to be resodded before Memorial Day. So we'll look
Can I say something about that? So what happened is we got a phone call months ago from a young man in California who wanted to do a story about his uncle who was killed in Vietnam. So they wanted a permit to do the movie in Seabright. So we didn't need a permit. We were just going in the area where he grew up at. Go back now 6 months after that, Frank Lawrence found that plaque in the gym amongst a whole bunch of boxes and said, look at this thing. When I look at the name, I'm like, I know that name from somewhere. And it just so happened that was the plaque that the young man came to do the movie about his uncle. So we put 2 and 2 together. I went and finding his brother and showed his brother, and then we surprised him last week to show him that monument. It was pretty neat. So
I didn't hear that part. That's great.
yeah.
Wow.
So when Frank come up, I know that name. How do I know that name? And that's how it kind of happened. So I think on Memorial Day weekend, he's going to come and see if his nephew from California can come to the dedication.
Well, that's good. Thank you for that addition. That's quite a coincidence.
Yeah.
Wow. That's all I have, except I have 2 things in executive session, but that covers us for now. So, anybody has any other comments?